place, we have strategy, reforms are in place, we have both statutory and regulatory mechanisms, and we have very serious technical support teams in the ministry where there may be deficit or need to add, to improve, to train further. We shall do so that the designs, a lot of designs, including national master policy. I just need to sit on my desk and be taken through the national water policy and the national master plan for water. And then, therefore, I'll be able to find your constituency where it is or any other.
But is it true that you don't know anywhere else apart from Kandara?
I would be happy to go. Of course.
That was his question.
Mr. Chairman, to answer the Honorable Junet, I have traveled in all the counties in this country, both at my own free time and also during the very extensive campaigns that we did, including Junet Mohammed. I'm sure he has traveled. Mheshimiwa, I'll be able to find my way around, definitely.
Thank you. We'll take the next batch. Hey, Junet says you have not answered his other question. Which? There?
If I'm allowed, Chairman, I would like to leave that question because the Honorable Judge is now serving as a deputy CJ in the country. I had raised the matter before Justice and Legal Affairs Committee before she was vetted. She was vetted and went through the process of vetting. There is no need, if I'm allowed, by the owner of the question and the Speaker, Chair, sir, not to answer any further or deal with the matter.
Preclude us from discussing judges at that level without substantive motions. You're right.
That's right.
I'll take the next batch of 4. The Honorable Owen Paya, the Honorable, wow. The Honorable Murugara, the Honorable Amisi and Naisula. You will have this next round.
Can I start, Speaker? All right. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Okay. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, and to Honorable Alice Wahome, our nominee for water, sanitation, and irrigation. There is a clear relationship, or actually a correlation, between lack of water and poverty. In the Africa Water Vision by 2025, that is, Africa should at least have water by 2025 everywhere, potable water by 2025, which is just 3 years from now. If you look at that document, it examines this relationship very clearly and puts African states on their toes to ensure that water. Looking at Kenya the way it is, I think we are very far away from achieving that. My question to you, Honorable Alice, is as CS of Water and Sanitation and Irrigation, how will you reconfigure this country to achieve this vision by 2025? And what is it that you'd want Parliament to do so that you can achieve this vision, not only for the country, but also for Africa? Secondly, if I put it within this supplementary, Mr. Speaker, there are places in this country, if they had water, they wouldn't be as poor as they are. The docket on irrigation is placed squarely into you. How will you bring all this together to ensure that irrigation plays a role, but also water is found at home so that we can curtail the poverty that we have in this country? I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Chair. To our nominee, our constitution, we heavily borrowed from advanced democracies, US, UK, Canada, some Scandinavian countries like Sweden. But the best practices are not borrowed. We see ministers in these countries, whenever they are faced with flaws or mistake, they resign. But in the history of our country, you've seen ministers saying that some of them that may be known to you, that they rather die than resign. We get a lot of challenges during our working, especially these high-profile positions. There is a lot of pressure, and somebody accused you of being temperamental. Are we going to see a change that whenever there is a flaw to you, maybe in the course of your work, the pressure increases higher than normal, and your hand moves closer to somebody at a speed faster than lightning? Are you going to resign? As flimsy, as petty as the offense is, but are we going to see more responsible ministers this time round?
Next, Morogara.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, this is to the nominee. Water is everything. In fact, they say water is life. And especially to poor rural folks in the poor areas of the country, the arid and semi-arid areas, which include my constituency, Tharaka Nithi County, the eastern region, Ukambani, the northeastern region, and the northern parts of Kenya. We are now experiencing a drought. There is a hue and a cry in the country, not just on the part of food, but on the part of water, such that it has become a way of life that every 3-4 years there is a drought, and the cycle is repeated whereby we have no food, our livestock die, and the rivers that traverse those areas actually dry up. My question is, as a measure of extreme urgency, dharura, what plans do you have to ensure that this problem in the rural areas, in the dry areas, semi-arid areas of the country, this problem is ameliorated such that it is not going to be a cycle. It may be a one-off, but not a cycle that is repeated every 3-4 years to the detriment of the citizens who live in those areas.
Thank you, Chair. To Honorable Alice, and I would really advise and recommend that you really visit every part of this country when you're in that docket, so that you can actually feel the whole issue of water and how some parts of this country, people are really suffering. And so I do empathize with Kenyans in various parts of the country that have not had a drop of rain for 2 years now, and there has been no water for domestic and animal use. The case of human suffering is in the increase, while loss of livelihood continue to characterize life in the arid and semi-arid areas. And this is a matter of now, urgent. What urgent interventions and reforms will you put in place as a cushion to the devastating drought situation to see to it that households and school-going children have water?
Excellent. Next. Who was the... Oh, we've done the 4. Yes, Alice? You can answer those 4. Then we take another batch.
The first question was regarding my temperament, whether I will resign, or maybe he means whether I will fight with people I'm not happy with in terms of the way they are working. I'm not exactly a young person. I have the advantage of working now maybe for the last 40 years, and I do not recall any other incidents. You will also maybe want to know, and I want to put it on record, that I have been a politician for 20 years. Although I have served 2 terms and this now 3rd term, and I have not been involved in any other fight, altercation, except this that you seem to pick, honorable members. And I'm sure there are cases that can be very bad. I do not think I am a violent person. I am able to manage my tempers.
Honorable Chairperson,
Honorable Chair, I'm able to manage my
Hold on,
tempers.
Alice.
Yes.
The David speak.
I have a slight interjection just to my colleagues, and I'm requesting the help of the chairperson that we do. It would be nice not to have the questions being subjective, because when the question is asked in a manner that is subjective and amounts to casting aspersions and passing judgment without giving the candidate an opportunity to elaborate, then it doesn't look good. I think you can phrase your question, Honorable Amisi, to say, could you elaborate on the following incidences with a view of assuring the panel that you have the requisite integrity standards? That's a better way of asking. And I know this because I haven't seen that line of questioning with any of the other candidates.
Chair, maybe to make it even clearer.
I'm not opening any debate.
I believe I have
carry on.
answered. With your permission, Chair, I was going to move to the question of Honorable Murugara. I said I am able to manage my temper. Honorable Murugara wants to know. I'll come to your question, Honorable Baya. Honorable Murugara is asking a question related to climate change. The question of climate change is a big subject, locally and internationally. It is true we have water, seasons of water, periods of a lot of rainwater, and the next time, maybe after 5 years, drought, serious drought or moderate drought. Indeed, when I was going through notes and seeking information in this area, I was made to understand that every 30 years or so, we normally get very severe drought, then followed by El Nino type of floods. It means we have not been able to learn properly. We have not put in place measures before that will deal with the water harvesting question. I have gone through the documents. We do have now Irrigation Act. We have water conservation regulations, and regulatory mechanisms are in place. There is a lot of effort and research that has been put in place on how we can conserve rainwater, including coming up with, I think they call them dry valley dams, which means they will draw water from the rains. And indeed, when you walk, for example, when you go to water from Makueni, going those two valleys there, you can see big valleys that would be able to hold a lot of water. We have seen serious devastating floods in most of the eastern provinces, regions, the counties like the ones Mheshimiwa Resuda is referring to, her county, but that water after 3 months is not there. The ministry intends to partner with Parliament, provide funding with other partners, including private partners. I will go back to that question. Dams is a big solution. Development of dams, infrastructure is a big solution to the question of water, because dams can be able to hold rainwater, water flows from floods, and I have looked and seen that we have a long list of dams that are either 50% complete. A few have run into problems because of either the contractors have run into serious financial issues, but majority of dams are kind of halfway. I'm told that we need this, the whole of this, the master plans, the research, the designs are there. I'm told what we need is money. Between now and 2030, we need to raise 1.8 trillion shillings for both water resources development and sanitation by 2030. If we did that, we will possibly deal with 3/4 of our problems. So yes, I'm sure I'll be coming to the honorable members to be able to discuss how we can partner in the area of looking for more money. Honorable Baya is asking how, the question of hunger, poverty is related to no water, no agriculture, no growing food, no production. I agree with you. The docket of irrigation has received serious attention. I can assure you that. And I think sometimes there is a lot of politics around irrigation. If you look at the irrigation schemes that are there, and I'm sure your region is one of those. The Gurana irrigation scheme, is about 95%. 5,000 acres of irrigation is now more or less complete. Remaining another 5,000. The total is 10,000. And you remember the beginning was really visited with a lot of politics, but now it's underway to completion. So I want to think that for food security, to be able to be water secure, have food security, we need to irrigate. Again, we need to irrigate about 3.5 million acres. Currently, we have covered only about 800,000 acres, slightly less than 800,000 acres. So yes, by the time we reach 3.5 million acres, I think we shall be stable. But by 2030, the target, the question you asked me, by 2030, we are required to raise enough money to be able to irrigate about 1.2 million acres, between 1 million, 1.3 acres. That way we will be able to possibly talk about food security. Thank you. The Suda visit, I should make sure I visit the entire country. That's a good invitation. How can I resist that one?
Thank you,
I'll
Chair.
join you in that.
Chair, through you.
So the drought question, school-going children, you had me about.
Yes, thank you. And I believe the nominee touched on the long-term interventions,
yes,
as she was answering Honorable Murugara. But I need immediate, urgent, now.
The boreholes, the small ponds, the smaller dams, other than the mega dams, collecting rainwater, ensuring that we are able to, some areas, in fact, we even use dozer system, which is a very short-term and expensive mechanism. But boreholes, water harvesting, I have seen a lot of urgent, rapid response mechanisms or efforts by the ministry, and I'm sure as soon as I get office, with your approval, I'll be able to look at what is the immediate that we can do so that children are not running without water, but also that they can harvest water from schools where the ministry, with the help of agencies, they are delivering and distributing water tanks for purposes of storage. So yes, we do need a quick intervention water storage. Yes. I think I've answered all the questions.
Next batch.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, all of us, we understand that Kenya is a water-scarce country, and right now we're experiencing a lot of scarcity in terms of water, and the reason is being climate change, global warming, deforestation, and also destroying of our water towers. Recently, I've seen some leaders saying that they will allow some people to do cultivation or other farming in Mau Forest. So I'm asking our nominee, what is your take in terms of safeguarding our water towers or other water catchment areas to ensure that we have adequate rainfall? The other issue to the nominee is about what is your plan in terms of adequate supply of renewable fresh water for all Kenyans? I thank you.
Next.
Thank you, Chair. Honorable Alice, my question, I really want you to be very specific. We are facing the worst drought in a decade. Currently, schools are being closed because there is not even water to cook food for the pupils or the students. And the rains maybe is unforeseen. The short rains might fail. So what we are asking is, as a stopgap of immediate attention, what is the ministry doing? We know you have not sat on that seat yet, but you should be able to get the information and give us feedback to that effect. On the same, your predecessor was also a lady. She was not seeing eye to eye with members of parliament. And yet water is life. And water is life. We represent the people. We're actually the actual representatives of the people of Kenya. So how are you likely now to work with Parliament and members of Parliament? Thank you, Chair.
Singh.
Thank you, Speaker and Chair of this committee. Number one, Speaker, is I didn't feel that the nominee answered the question by Honorable Ichung'wah properly. That was also my question in terms of water purchase agreement with the president. As of now, it's a policy. Maybe the nominee has not maybe acquainted herself with that policy and how it's going to happen. Maybe she would have said like that. It's a very fundamental policy, Speaker. I didn't get that very well from the nominee. But my question is, Chair, water is a default function. I want to hear from the nominee. What is it still doing, that function of water in national government? Is it that the county government cannot do those mega dams? Or is it that we cannot be able to give them the money? What is it that is amiss in our structure of devolved functions, Honorable Speaker, that national government is still insisting that, okay, maybe you people are small brothers, you cannot be able to do these mega projects we can be able to do as government. What is it that is missing? Finally, Speaker.
One question.
No. Finally, Speaker. Yes. It's not a question, but it's maybe a reminder that the nominee, if approved by this House, I want her to pay attention on the mega stall projects, Honorable Chair, particularly in West Pokot. There is one dam in history of Pokot Nation, one, Honorable Speaker, that has ever been done since God created the world. It's called Murun. You know that, Speaker. You know that's your home. We passed there. One since God created the world. It's about 60% complete. I hope the nominee, if she gets this one, takes that as number one, because that's the only one, Chair, since God created the world. There's no other dam that has been done in West Pokot. Thank you, Chair. You see, it's a reminder only. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Speaker, I want to ask the nominee for water. We have a river which comes from Mount Kenya, going through Meru, going to the Raka, and it is a major source of water for Mount Kenya East. And Mr. Speaker, through you, I would want to ask if the nominee goes through, because there are people who are irrigating with that water, and it's not just in Meru, in all the rivers in the country. They're doing hydroelectric plants, irrigating and everything, and people downstream cannot get the water. Mr. Speaker, I would want to ask the nominee, once she gets into office, if the House approves, what is she going to do with those areas? Because Meru is not known to be arid or semi-arid, but right now people are dying in Meru. Mr. Speaker, again, we hear about dams in each and every county. For the last 10 years, Mount Kenya East, We have talked about a dam, Kianjuri Dam, which was supposed to be done in Mount Kenya, which would go to Meru County together with the Rakanidi County. Mr. Speaker, we hear there are dams everywhere, but we are wondering, is the Rakanidi and Meru not in Kenya? That we do not get those dams. And we hear, the other day we had in Kirinyaga 20 billion, we hear Aror and Kimwarer 50, 60 billion. Now we are wondering, where do we stand? So we would want to ask our nominee that if you are nominated to that office, you do a fair distribution of dams in all over the country and not just in a few areas.
Thank you. Answer, as you do so, I don't want us to repeat ourselves. The Honorable Posing asked you Ichungwa's question, and in my estimation, you had adequately answered it. You said you'll have public participation, you will have a look at each case in its own merit, and you'll consult the Attorney General to come up with proper, acceptable legal documents for the water purchase agreements. So you don't need to repeat it so that you answer other questions. You can answer him on Murunyi Dam and others.
Kopsing, and maybe I could then start with that so that I finish. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, even Chairman, for helping me out on that one. Water is devolved. That is your statement. What the national government is doing is water resource development infrastructure and managing that infrastructure so that by the time the counties are given water, then they are able themselves to distribute. They still have a big role. I guess it is not possible for the national government to deliver on delivery of water access to water to everybody without involving of the counties. But I'm sure you also agree the infrastructure, the management and development of that infrastructure is still a role of the national government. But it also does not stop the counties from coming up with their own irrigation and water projects. So I think I have answered that. If you look at the Constitution, there is nowhere it is stated that the national government will not work and develop the infrastructure. The dam you are talking about is 60%. Mheshimiwa, it's not just this particular dam that it is incomplete. There are very many dams. I've looked at the documents, but it is possible that we have maybe more than 40 dams or thereabout that are incomplete. Some work is going on. Others are waiting for release of funds. You know where the country is at the moment. You know where this government found the economy. And without passing any blame or ducking the question in any event, is that I said we need 500 billion shillings to be able to be water secure. And that's why it is important that the country understands that private and public partnerships are not a way of commercializing or selling water. You know, of course, water is a fundamental human right. It's a basic right secured under Article 43, and therefore, if we do not also provide, then it means the responsibility by the national government is not yet discharged. So I want to assure you that we will look at this dam, if I'm approved, not just this dam or incomplete projects. The President has pronounced himself very clearly that he would want to move from the projects that are ongoing first to be able to complete those, allow funding of those before we can start as a government on new projects. So Mheshimiwa Honorable Daiwu may be one of the people who will be waiting so that we can first complete the incomplete projects. But I believe every county needs to be able to get these services. Honorable Mishi, it is true, yes, we are a water scarce country because of climate change, because of course of poor management of our water resources, the catchment areas, the water towers. Parliament, the Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Water, all partners, stakeholders need to work together to restore the water towers, the catchment areas, and it is not possible to say that the minister will do that alone, including the fact that if there are people irrigating along rivers, you did not say which river, but maybe you can pass that over to me, yes. But I think the Ministry of Environment has a bigger role in this, but also the public has even a bigger responsibility not to destroy. We must work on conservation rather than destruction, and therefore those irrigating along the rivers, I think awareness creation also by members of Parliament is important. Adequate renewable waters. I suppose in terms of conservation, restoring waters, maybe water wastage, of course, desalination, all these are methods of coming up with innovative ways of having more water. And I think I have seen policy documents and strategy documents. Indeed, there is a lot of reforms in this ministry. The documents are complete. What is remaining is implementation. Honorable Russell, I will take the speaker's, the chairman's advice that I may have addressed this question, because I said there are stopgap measures like delivering storage tanks, quick boreholes, small domestic ponds, or community ponds will be able to answer some of those questions. And they are under the rapid response programs. And there are those particular programs that are funded to respond to the situation as it is. I believe, Chairman, I was told about predecessor Sisri Karaoke. How will I work or partner with members of Parliament? Will I be accessible? Yes, I will be accessible. I'm a member of Parliament. I believe I may have a better understanding of the demands and the pressure on members of Parliament. I may not have an answer for you even when you visit, but I may be able to hear you. Thank you.
We take the last batch, Ferdinand Emase Mule. And sorry, you are slightly behind me. Yes, in fact, let me start with you. Coach Ferdinand Emase Mule.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mine is slightly different. The plan, there's a plan to irrigate 1 million acres of land by the Kenya Kwanza administration. And looking at the dams that were somehow midway stopped from construction, I think because of, in my view, toxic politics of that time, Kimorer, Aror, Bosto, Londiani, Korusoin, amongst the few. Do you have plans to restart the dams again? And if yes, will we still have value for money, considering that some of these financiers have continued to pile interest on the loans within the time that they had been stopped? Thank you.
Ferdinand.
Mr. Chairman, I think I want to ask analysts a very controversial issue. This is where we went wrong. Irrigation is supposed to be in agriculture. Somehow it was moved to water and the blue economy. We have projects like Kalana Kulalu, which actually is irrigation for the farms there. But somehow irrigation and how to move to water. As far as I'm concerned, irrigation is supposed to irrigate crops in agriculture. Don't you think that we should be able to move the irrigation from yourself so that you can concentrate on water other than irrigating the farms?
Mary.
Thank you, Chairman. Sorry. My question is on ongoing projects. Madam Nominee, water scarcity cuts across. It affects majority of the population, not only in the arid and semi-arid, but even in wet areas like Western Kenya, Busia, where I come from. There is water, yes, but we do not have deliberate structures to harvest that water. So it's not surprising to meet school children with the jerry cans going to look for water to be able to, to survive in those schools. So my question is, what will be your priorities? Because government has initiated a number of water projects across the country, including Busia County. So how are you going to prioritize, noting the economic situation, the fact that we are cutting down on most of the budgets across the sectors? So what are you going to prioritize? Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. My question goes to the nominee, and I will, Speaker, encourage you, please allow us to frame the question which was asked by Honorable Ichung'wah, because I find it very important for simple reason, Mr. Speaker. We are putting about a budget of about 500 billion shillings on the PPP. And I didn't hear the nominee come out very clearly on the clear pillars. And probably for the doubt of Kenyans, what are we talking about? We are talking about 5 pillars. I can name them very quickly. The water scaling, whereby we are looking at the quality, quantity, rate, and the rate of adjustment. The sale capital, the purchase tripartite agreements, the terms of agreement, and the water usage in that particular project. Then my question comes, Mr. Speaker, as a nominee to this ministry with that fundamental huge mandate being given to her, first and foremost, we need to understand, with the current economic situation in the country, will the ordinary Kenyan be able to raise funds for the purchase agreement we are talking about? I want to give an example. In Matungulu, we have the second highest bore in the entire country, producing 78,000 cubic liters of water per hour. What does that translate? It translates, you need an investor, and the common mwananchi at the grassroots will be able to pay back the investor who has distributed the water, who has made sure that the quality of water is clean, and made sure that there is a drop of water at every homestead. Mr. Speaker, and the nominee, Alice Wahome, at the current situation of economics of scale in this country, does the common mwananchi be in position to procure some of these simple water agreement we are looking at? And I think you should be bold enough to advise the government on the best model, and if the model cannot work, will you be in a position to stand and tell the president, please, Mr. President, you promised the hustlers water, give them water without metering? Thank you.
Yes, Alice.
We could start from that question from Honorable Mule. I think I would encourage members that we don't operate from fears. You have very well articulated the fact that there will be the water scaling, the quality, the assurance, the terms of sale of that water, the costing, the tariffs. May I advise just at this stage that there will be no interface between the consumer, that is the beneficiary of the water, and the developer, because that is not possible. You can see that would not be an equal relationship. There are water providers that will be dealing with the consumer, the mwananchi. The developer will be dealing with the government at government level and the development agency level. That is, for example, at the water, NIB or NIA now, at that level, the agreements will be exchanged monies provided for, develop the water resource, hand over to the agency, then the agency will be able to know, because we have water companies that even today, water is really actually a trading commodity. The water you are using in your house, even in this parliament, is for sale. We buy water. What is important is how how the instruments for control and regulation of tariffs is done. And if there are challenges there, it is an area that Parliament, through the Regulatory Legislation Committee, will be able to address. If tariffs are not reasonable, Parliament would have a role. And I think so far, I've looked at some of the studies and documentation with the ministry. Every shilling you invest in water brings 4 shillings, 4 times. Indeed, in our country, it could be up to 10 shillings. So I think there is room for control and standardization. And therefore, I can assure you, I think we have a role there. There is no need of fears. I do not see a situation where, and if you listened to the president himself, he said that the agreements will be first proposed by the relevant by Treasury and then come to the ministry, and I think it will obviously be a joint effort. We will look at those documents together. There will be public participation. The public will be able to say, even today, they are able to be consulted, and there are bad practices. And unfortunately, actually, there is also a lot of theft. Chairman, there is a lot of theft of water. Some of the challenges is that non-revenue water, that is now about 40% of all the water that we develop and we have. So if we lose 40% to theft and leakages, that's some of the things that we are supposed to be doing so that we can increase our volumes or our water resource. Miriam Master is talking about stored projects. I did say earlier there are many stored projects. There are several which are ongoing, complete and incomplete. And the ministry is working hard. I have looked at their portfolio, and I think they are working hard. The impediment is actually funding. And that's why if we wait to raise money from our revenue, you can be sure, like the Northern Corrector, Chairman, I found that the Northern Corrector, which is a major project for Nairobi Water, it will be at the compression stage. It's now at 95%. It's supposed to give Nairobi 140 cubic meters of water. That project was supposed to have been completed in year 2000. We are developing it now. We are completing it now. What does that tell you? Already the population has gone up, and therefore we are still lagging behind. And that is the same story for the entire country. We are behind maybe by 20 years. So let's work together to deal with the problem. Do I plan 1 million acres from Nelson Koech? Will we revive some of the dams that possibly stored because of toxic politics? Some of the dams are actually in the Ministry of East Africa and Regional Development, like the Kimarwa is in that ministry. I know there could be some need for collaboration with that ministry, and I believe all cases will be evaluated. The dams that are stored, the ones that are having cases in court, all these issues are our problems. We will have to deal with them because we also don't want idle money or waste of money. And if politics messed up a project and now we are in court, possibly because of the delay, failure to meet the contractual or terms of agreement, then we need to review our situation and see whether we are able to pick our pieces and move forward, because we have to have water. I think I have done justice. Deliberate efforts of harvesting water. Miriam Massa, I believe I have tackled that question. If you could agree that we move. Mr. Chairman, I believe I have
Alice, I'll
tackled.
also ask you a question. Now, in areas that are not water scarce, like the western region, parts of central, and so on and so forth. The water is available, but there's a serious problem with one of your portfolios, and that is sanitation. There is a lot of drilling of public boreholes or springs. Many families in those areas use pit latrines. The manner in which they are constructed and maintained does not control seepage of waste into the water aquifers. And this ends up creating serious problems with people's health. What are you going to do as minister responsible for national sanitation to ensure that there is control of the use of pit latrines so that they do not affect underground water? Because the pit latrine goes down 20, 30 feet. In some areas, you hit the aquifer at 35 feet. It means you are hitting the same level. So contamination from the pit latrines is flowing through the aquifers, and the water that we get thinking is clean water is in fact not clean water. What is going to be your game plan in ensuring that sanitation is available to prevent preventable waterborne diseases?
Chairman, that question is tough, but a very key question. I will say that I will need to apply my mind beyond today on that particular question. And it is true, of course, all our rural areas, majority use, maybe 90% are using pit latrines, and it is possible that the water levels, the aquifers, an area that we intend to use to develop to increase our water resource, are likely to be affected. But the new policy for the ministry is that wherever we are developing water resources, we are also accompanying that as much as possible with the sewerage system aspect. Indeed, as we speak, there are about 28 sewage systems that are under construction, and not projects in town. 28 towns are currently having sewerage systems going on. The World Bank is very interested in funding those particular projects, and I guess that the policy may be speaking deeper into this particular question, and possibly when Parliament next time calls me, I will have maybe possibly a more detailed answer. But yes, we need to either create awareness or come up with standards of how much deep you can go in terms of digging the toilets. But I think we need a scientific solution to that problem. Thank you.
Honourable members, yes.
Speaker, if you invite me, just to tell Honourable Alice that she has actually answered your question, and maybe the challenge is to her, if she gets approved, to put more investment in sewerage systems, because that really is a challenge of the problem the Speaker was speaking about.
Thank you. Thank you.
Honourable members, I think we can come to the end with the Honourable Alice. Well done, Alice, and we wish you well. I now give you 3 minutes to tell us your wish with this committee.
Thank you, Chairman, for even a very cordial session. I want to thank the honourable members for giving me the opportunity to express myself. And yes, I'm looking forward to partnering and working with members of Parliament in the next, in this particular term. And I know that it will be possible to deal with some of the challenges that are facing you. I also want to thank women leaders. Many women leaders, Chairman, have called me to congratulate me, to thank the head of state for this appointment. I know other women have sat in that office, but if you count the numbers, they are still very, very low, and therefore there is excitement in the women movement. I have grown from that particular space, and I want to also tell them that we will be partnering with them. By and large, thank you very much, members. I look forward to a soft landing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alice. You are released to go back to your other duties.
So we're using aluminium formwork as a mode of construction in Maisha developments. The reason we're using aluminium formwork is because it's fast, it's reliable, and it's efficient. As you can see behind me, we were on ground floor 2 weeks ago, and now we're already on second floor. Not only does it give us quality, it gives us efficiency and the speed.
Dina, very good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. This edition of the Tackle is the Sharia Wiki edition of the 14th of October 2022. Tarehe 18 mwezi wa 10 mwaka 2022. Hope you're doing well. It's another Friday. The week is already out. It's another Friday. Good morning to you. Kama kawaida, please when you join, when you please like when you like, we get to know that you're watching us. And after like, please share. When you share, you give someone else an opportunity to watch the broadcast. This is the tackle, and it begins right now. The Sharia Wiki edition of the 14th of October 2022. We have the LSK President Eric Theuri. We have Dr. Duncan Ojwang, Dean of Law African Nazarene, and we also have Dr. Kurokot Party Leader, the Third Way Alliance, who is always the headliner on Sharia Wiki here. And we'll be having a discussion around a raft of legal issues that have been happening. There's been great legal happenings around the country of late. For the whole week, we've been having what we call a release en masse by the DPP. The DPP has been releasing most politicians who have been accused of corruption off the hook, beginning with past cases like Ben Juma at KPLC and 10 others were released. We're having again the case of Aisha Juma, which was dropped. We have the case of Waititu, which was dropped as well. As we have others who have been dropped in, as waiting also to go back to court, including Kimunya and all the other politicians from the other side. We're going to look at that and get to understand the legal balance of it, have a legal background, what are the consequences in terms of court proceedings and also judicial processes. We'll also be having a conversation around the CASs. The LSK, Law Society of Kenya, has gone to court to block the PSC, Public Service Commission, from establishing the office of the CAS. And the Public Service Commission as well has given a rebuttal yesterday, and they have said, we have already set up the office, so you cannot implement the order. So remember, back in 2019, the CS positions has been ruled as unconstitutional, null and void. So we're going to look at that as well. What are the chances that PSC has against the LSK? And also, what are the chances that LSK as well be able to present their case and win against the PSC and probably declare the CAS positions unconstitutional, null and void, as we are used in the park. Kama kaida lazima twende mbele za Mungu tuombe, halafu basi tukirudi najua ni nani ameweza kuamka mapema. If you have any question as well, please you can send it to us so that we can have this conversation together. If you have any question, you can send it to us. We can have this conversation. There are other Kenyans as well with bad manners, and they're destroying roads. We're having a lot of vandalism on Jogoo Road, and we're going to look at that as well. What are the legal, what's the legal vanguard against vandalism? All right, mighty Father, we come before you this morning. You worship, we glorify them. Thank you for another opportunity to be alive. We thank you for this conversation. We thank you for every tackler. As we start off, may you be with us when we finish. And as we have this conversation, may it edify the fabric of this country. For you pray, trusting and believing. Amen. Let's see who is up this morning. Ilari Mokochot, good morning, Jeremy. Good morning to you. Kipchumba Bwambok, we are in and ready. Thank you so much. Lucy, just at long last, I'm here with you. It's been busy, but I'm free today. Thank you so much, Lucy. It's a pleasure to have you this morning as well. Vitalis are there. Good morning. Tuned in, say hi to the guests in the studio. Thank you so much, my brother. Vitalis are there. To Kilimani Hangwa. Thank you so much. Salimia watu pia hapo. Agimaliel Babeo, much ready for the show. Thank you. Timoke E already in, bro. Manel Doret Kimumu, addicted to your show. Bwana, thumbs up. Thank you so much. Franklin Kimngatich, my good morning. Good morning to you. And letting Maria, happy birthday. Thank you so much for wishing me happy birthday. By the way, we forget about our birthdays. I think it's one of those things that we don't think about until someone reminds us. But thank you so much. Thank you so much, Maria, for remembering my birthday this morning and wishing me a happy birthday. To many M-Pesa pia. My M-Pesa is open. To many M-Pesa hata mimi nikule kitu. Asante sana. Thank you so much, Letting Maria, wishing me a happy birthday this morning. Keep Kelio Colisais Dochuria. Amen. And in fact, thank you so much. Keep Jima Kwambak all the way from Australia. What an amazing panelist today. I'm glad it's Friday evening here. Popcorn and of course nice drink as we enjoy the show. Thank you so much. Asante sana. Keep Kwambak all the way from Australia. Salimia to Australia sana. Iladi Machokor, well, loud and clear. Eldoret, thank you. Maleba, call it capture and release method of sampling. We are back to biology. Capture and release, capture again. Capture, release, and recapture. DK Cheboy, good morning, GB. Good morning to you, my brother. Nicole, good work. Thank you so much. Abraham Monguti from Rongo, tuned in loud and clear. Thank you. Cheba Mutwal, Chebet, good morning from Ravine. Good to see you, Cheba Mutwal. Babake Willie, good morning from KSA. Asante sana. Clinton Raf, Kirinyaga Kutus, Nikorada. Watu wa Kutus, mambo vipi. Mwaj Mwangi Hazman, tukorada. Asante Koskei Shokoti. Good morning to you. I hope you're doing well. Let's see who is up on YouTube this morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. It's a pleasure to have you this morning. This one, good morning, sir. Good morning to you. Airtime zilianda wapi? Airtime zinarudi next week. Ante. Investor 254 niko ndani. Good morning. Good morning to you. Please, when you join in, when you we get to know that you're watching us. And that way, please share. When you share, you give someone else an opportunity to watch the broadcast. And also, if you're new to, please make sure that you can invite 1, 2, or 3 people to subscribe to our channel. If you're new to, please send a link to someone. Tukuma link kusukume mutu. ambia kuja subscribe. Kama kwa Facebook pia, please tag someone this morning. If you're on Facebook, please tag someone this morning. And let's tag 5 people. Tag 5 people at least this morning so that we can join this discussion together. Jane Mumbi, good morning from Diani and happy birthday. Thank you so much. Jane Mumbi, you owe me an holiday. Jane Mumbi. Jane Safari is by Jane. You owe me an holiday. You're supposed to give me an holiday last year, but I was busy. Now I'm very idle. You need to give me my holiday. Thank you so much, Jane Mumbi. Salimia watu wa Diane. Mansai, yes bro, and check WhatsApp. Okay, sawa, ndaangalia. Georgia Mandugu, good morning. Good morning to you. Honorable Julius Favor. Good morning, Mheshimiwa Julius Favor. Hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Daniel Kwari, good morning. Gerald following from Kabarnet, Baringo County. Asante sana. All right, let's begin at looking at the traffic situation on the roads this morning. Looking at Mombasa Road, all clear. Nothing to really worry about. Mombasa Road looks all clean this morning. Will be because of the expressway. Nothing to worry about. Looking at the Ayo roundabout, nothing to worry about as well. Bunyala roundabout, nothing to worry about. Getting into Uruwaiwe inbound into town, nothing to be scared about. Looking at Thika Road, kama kawaida, kuna traffic all the way from the GSU headquarters heading towards the Muthaiga Exchange. There's a lot of serious build up right there. But getting in from the Muthaiga Exchange heading towards town and Pangani, nothing to really worry about. But looking at Kiambu Road as well, jam Mbaya, all the way from the DCI, just before DCI, actually from Total Ridgeways, there's some serious traffic build up heading towards the Muthaiga Exchange. A lot of traffic right there on both lanes on Kiambu Road. Looks all crazy this morning. Looking in at Limuru Road, kama kawaida, kuna ile shida kidogo ya heading into Parklands, the small build-up that gets into town, but nothing to really worry about. Looking at Westlands area, generally nothing to worry about. Wayaki Way looks all clean. Some little traffic at Westlands bus stage, but nothing to really worry you about. Looking at there's James Gishuru. James Gishuru looks all clean. James Gishuru looks all clean. Some little traffic at Mozambique Springs Junction, but nothing to worry about. Looking at the Lavington Mall area, nothing to be scared about. Looking at Kithanga Road as well this morning. Kithanga Road looks all clean heading towards Valley Arcade. Kingara Road looks a bit jammed up from the junction heading towards Gecko Cafe and also the Kithanga Road Exchange. Ngong Road as well, there's some traffic all the way from Lexo heading towards the Junction Mall, but nothing to be scared about. The normal traffic kidogo, but heading towards Prestige, some small traffic hapo kwa Mata kidogo, lakini nothing to really be scared about. Mbagathi Way looks all clean this morning, nothing to be scared about. Around Kenyatta roundabout looks all clean, shida tu kidogo ile ya Mata, but nothing to be scared about. Let me know how the traffic situation is looking like on your road. Let me know the traffic situation is looking like on your roads as well. Looking at the daily newspapers as well. The Daily Nation, Ruto recalls Moi's curse. Okay. Ruto recalls Moi's cars and staff. Okay. Mambo ya gazeti. President William Ruto, former President Kenyatta, had granted a grace period. I think it was for 2 years, but it looks like that one has elapsed as well. They interviewed Lee Njiru, who said he handed over his car a week earlier than they had requested it. And he has said that is a law. So there's nothing really to be sensational about. But well, we get to look at it as well. New order. President Ruto's administration has withdrawn government vehicles and other public assets, deployed workers and scaled down security at former President Moi's homes. Okay. Lawyer Sensor Aji on drop cases. Lawyers have called for a review of the evidence prosecution say is insufficient to secure conviction as they gave Director of Public Prosecution Udin Aji 3 days to disclose reasons for his withdrawal of corruption cases against President William Ruto allies. Okay. Giraitu Murongi, this is how we in Azimio lost the election. There's a story there. Since the election, the belt called rumor mill has been awash with numerous reasons, excuses, scapegoats, and rational explanations as to why Raila Odinga camp lost many seats, including the presidency in the last general elections. Giraitu Murongi, who lost in his bid to recapture the Meru governor seat, argues in this thought-provoking piece that it is very easy to blame others and attribute their defeat to external factors, even though some people have pointed out the political confusion, tactical mistakes, ideological errors, and organizational disarray, cyber rigging, rampant further bribery, and betrayals that summed up their campaign. All right. Okay, Uru's miracle political tour, which was expected to turn tables in the Mount Kenya region, didn't happen. We are waiting for the Godot. Okay, it never arrived. We were abandoned in the political battlefield. It is no wonder that we were outnumbered, outfoxed, and outperformed by UDA. Okay, finally, a commission coming in from Kirai to Murungi. President organizes government takes charge of budget and policy and economic affairs. There's an executive order that was issued yesterday by the President William Ruto and also outlines, among others, the offices that will be established under William Ruto's presidency. Okay, looking at the standard Ruto's power structure in an executive order last night, President Ruto outlined the face of his government and detailing roles and responsibilities of his office and those of the deputy president, prime cabinet secretary, ministries and state departments. Okay, LSK issues ultimatum to urge on withdrawal cases are guerrilla days, handling guns in staging rockets and explosives. Okay, Champions Burger on verge of exit. Mambo ya mchezo hiyo. SIM card switch off looms for those who have not registered. If you are not registered, if you are not given your details fully at the registrar of your SIM card, your service provider, then you could be off your line very soon. Scrap metal trade fuels vandalism on Outer Ring Road. That's another conversation that we must have. Taifa leo, Raila Odinga arudi kwa maasla. Okay, Raila rudi kwa maasla. That's on Taifa leo. Mgombeaji rais wa tiketi ya muungano wa Azimio la Umoja One Kenya kwenye uchaguzi mkuu uliopita, Raila Odinga amerudi mitaani kujumuika na wananchi wa mapato ya chini maarufu kama maasla katika moja ya hatua zake za kutekeleza mikakati ya kutoa jasho serikali ya Kenya Kwanza. Haya, watetezi wa lalama kundi la vijana watetezi wa tabia nchi barani Afrika chini ya mwavuli wa Pan African Climate Justice wanaandamana nje ya jengo ya Nation Center. Wadani wa Ruto Raila wakosa kazi. Wameanza na Sosian, tume ya utumishi ya umma yakosa kutoa baadhi ya makatibu. Haya, Liverpool wafanya ukatili UEFA. The Reds wanyanyasa Rangers bila huruma kwa mabao 7-1. The Star, Kinoti lied over judge. Kinoti lied over judge. Top DCI cop confesses. Okay. John Kashomo disowns Judge Sankale's statement, claims ex-DCI chief missold him. All right, okay. The story right there, you'll be able to read it. Mudavadi center stage as MPs start vetting Ruto nominees. Explain to Kenyans dropping of high-profile craft cases at LSK. And we have the LSK president here this morning. Storm over Mudavadi's prime CS job. Okay, the People Daily. As the minority leader says, the NC Supremo should not be interviewed as the seat Ruto promised him is not constitutional. You know, it's not in the constitution. Wetangula to rule on the dispute on Monday. Okay, that's it on the dailies this morning. But you can let us know how things are looking at audio, and you can contribute the conversation this morning. And we start right off. Naingia kazi atakopesi. Good morning to you, President Eric. How are you?
Asante sana, thank you for inviting me to your wonderful studio.
Good to see you this morning as well. It's your first time here.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Maybe you can introduce yourself to the viewers, to the tacklers. Kama mshaipatana nao mahali.
Tunakutananga tu mtaani. Good morning, listeners. Good morning, tacklers. My name is Eric Theuri, president of the Law Society. And I'm glad to be here, and happy birthday to the host.
Tueneka kitu.
Tunatuma ka M-Pesa.
All right. Pongezi also. No, you've not been able to interact since you got the position you won. You sit at the presidency at the LSK. Yes. LSK has been a very good friend of ours.
Yes, I know. Yeah.
Very good friends.
And I'm glad that we can
continue the
relationship.
Yes. So we've been working together very closely, and you've played a very key role in helping us shape the biggest conversation in Kenya. Legal, of course, including BBI, including administration, and all the demeanor and misdemeanors of governance. So we're happy to be associated with you once again.
Yeah,
Thank you for that invite.
I'm also glad we have this opportunity, because I believe that the media plays a very, very important role in shaping public discourse, especially on matters that the LSK has a statutory mandate to intervene on. And I think that the more we have this sort of partnership, and the more we are able to disseminate the issues that are affecting the public, and also get to hear from them what issues are affecting them, and we become more effective if we have that sort of two-way communication.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Joang, good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
Good to see you.
Yes, sir.
It's been a while, you've been missing in action. Nasikia ndio ulikuwa unapanga serikali ama ni fitina?
I'm glad to be here. I'm grateful and glad that we have a Sharia Day, Sharia Week. There have been a lot of legal things from the filing on GMO,
yes,
the earlier release or dismissal of cases, the issue of the establishment of the office of CAS, the death or untimely death in the right to health, bringing into issue the issue of right to health,
yes,
of the young child. Last week we were in Wahome trying to see what His Excellency offered the people of Wahome. So I've been up and about, but I'm doing fine.
We're glad you're doing fine. All right, I think we'll start right off on the very close issues, the social issues, of course, that we've talked about. But before we get to that, generally we start with the state of the nation. What do you think is the state of the nation, Dr.
I think the nation is waiting with a bated breath to see, to feel, the changes. There is a lot of things we swept under the rug as we moved towards election and campaigns. And they appeared not to have mattered much then, or at least not the priority. But it was obvious that whoever will come to the office will have to now, cannot kick that can down the road anymore. 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 1 week to election, the economy was almost coming to